Kshedd. Kshedd. I'm ready to come. It's gonna be a good one today. Episode 6. Kshedd Uncuffed. You know what? Last time when we talked, what I told you we were going to talk about was our beautiful mothers, or moms, for short. And I'm going to hold true to that. But my mom is upstairs. She's been, she's had a long, long day. My mom is 83 years old right now and just as beautiful as ever. When I look into her eyes, they're just as blue as when I first noticed that they were blue. And I was like, Mom, you have blue eyes. And that was like, she couldn't tell me where they came from. So maybe another day I might like dig deeper to figure out where her blue eyes came from. But regardless of anything, she's a beautiful, beautiful woman, and she's been there since day one. When it came to giving up, the skills of a mom, like nurturing, loving, caring, warmth, and just all that stuff, the button got stuck on my mom and like filled her with nothing but all that. And, she's just been all about her kids ever since then. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I'm gonna do everything I can to come back as much as I can from state of California back out to Iowa. And every time I come back, it's beautiful. So like I said, when we come back on episode 6, we're gonna talk about mom. But guess what? Instead of mom, my actual mom, we're gonna be talking about mom, meaning my dad, because mom stands for mean old man in this particular case. I've been hanging out with mom and I've been hanging out with dad and all that stuff. Dad, he has his stories, and you guys think I'm a storyteller. I tell you what, wait till he gets on. We're gonna give him a little bit of time to kind of chill and relax and stuff like that, and kind of ease into the moment. And prior to that, I'm going to set the stage for Mr. William Thomas Kshedd, my pops, because this guy has some stories that you will not believe. But it sets the stage for what I'm trying to do. This podcast was brought up and created for a couple different reasons. There's issues that still exist out in this world, especially that came up and were very prevalent in my last profession. And from when I first started out, you can kind of tell that there's a difference that comes with how you look. If you look this way, you go this route. And if you don't look that way, then you got to go this long through the forest and through the river and, the Amazon River, where everything out there can kill you. You got to go that route. And if you survive, we're still going to be waiting at the shores to cut whatever type of line you might be pulling up to get to the shore. And we're going to make sure that you don't get to where you're trying to go to. I know that's hard to hear for a lot of people. It really is, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything, but that's how it is. And what we're going to be talking about today is some stuff that leads into it. So back when I started being a police officer, and I kind of fought through everything and stuff, I never thought I was going to be the one who had to kind of dig deep and make sure that I was there and I was watching over everybody who weren't the chosen ones and stuff. But I was put in a position to make sure that the ones who didn't look like the good old boys still had a shot. People ask me all the time, what are you trying to do? Trying to change the world here? I'm like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll own it. Yeah, maybe I am trying to change the world. Who else is going to do it? I had a chance to sit there and watch highly qualified police officers not get the opportunities that they deserved. And you know what? Did I appreciate that? No. Did I think it was right? No. And did I take it on myself to try to make some changes? Hell yeah, I did. I was one of the ones who would go out of their way to set up these these forums that we'd have at the try to have at the police department. Wasn't just a mixture of this person, that person. It was a mixture of everybody, all races. Didn't matter what color. We try to get everybody together. We get a good group together, and just kind of talk over things and stuff, because obviously every business, every corporation, every police department in this particular case has their issues and stuff like that, whether it's budget issues, whether it's community issues, and all the different things that's going on in like the police world that are anti-police. At the same time, me being a minority officer, I'm saying, hey, look, man, we got some other inside stuff, like in-house things we need to take care of too. And no one wants to hear all that. I mean, if we're talking about white officers and stuff like that, you bring up racism or like favoritism or nepotism or all that stuff, unfairness. They don't want to hear that. And it's unfortunate, because you can ignore it all you want to, but then it rears its ugly head, because at some point, when the minorities are done being treated unfairly, they leave. And that's one of the biggest problems at my old place where I used to work right now, is because everybody's leaving due to the fact that they were treated, not as fair as some of the other ones and stuff like that. I remember the movie Reacher, and Reacher is the one who fought hard to go to bat for this one guy. If you guys ever remember the movie with Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher, he goes in and he's a special operations guy, and he goes down and stuff, and there's a guy who committed a crime, and he's about to get away with it because he was backed up by a bunch of different government type officials, and Jack Reacher goes in there and he makes things right. And for the whole hour and 45-minute movie, he is fighting and just terrorizing, and just like the Robin Hood on freaking steroids, man, just giving it up for the cause. And he's taking on odds that just are so crazy, and he's winning. And in the end, he's so exhausted, and he's on a bus riding back to wherever he's from. No one knows where he's from. He just kind of appears. But he's on a bus, and he's exhausted, about ready to fall asleep. And you can see on the film and here, there's this one guy and his girl in the back of the bus, and he's slapping her, he's yelling at her, and he's doing all this freaking horrible domestic violence stuff, and yelling at her, and she's crying, and she's terrified, and then the camera pans down the middle of this bus, and all you see is all these grown men, a couple guys sitting together who are, big dudes and stuff. Nobody's doing anything. They're just letting it happen and pretending like it's not going on. The camera keeps panning past all these people, like 10, 15 plus people, who could easily have taken this guy, and nobody does anything. And then the camera lands on Jack Reacher, like I said, he has his head up against the window because he's freaking exhausted from what he just got done doing. And he looks back and is like, nobody's going to do anything. And then he keeps yelling at her. And all of a sudden, all you see is Jack Reacher just put his head up, and he stands up. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll go do it. And he gets up and he walks in the back, and then the film cuts out. It's the best scene ever. Because it has to come from someplace. There's so many different things from my perspective that could have changed the dimensions of our department, and some of the different things that for all the betterment of the department as a whole, had somebody just stood up and said, you know what, you're wrong. I work with that guy, or I supervise that guy. It's not true. He's not a slacker, or she's not a slacker, or she deserves this position, or she's more than done her share of hardcore work, and she has the personality, the professionalism that comes with being a true police officer. He or she's not one-dimensional, and they deserve their shot. They've put in all the effort. They're 5-6 years on board and all that stuff now. They deserve that shot. They deserve that position. Had anybody who, might be of the good old boys network per se, stood up and, put a stand down for these particular officers and stuff, that would have changed so many different things about um, the makeup of the department, the future. It would have paved the way, and it would have made things perfect. But did that happen? No. It's unfortunate. So here I am being Jack Reacher, I guess. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I had to fight my own battles and all that stuff. But guess what? They try to pull a fast one on me, and I had the opportunity to say to myself, do I let this go? Do I just deal with it because I'm at the last tail end of my career? Do I just deal with it or what? And then I thought about my babies. I thought about my beautiful little girls, who are growing up in a world where, they're dependent on things being fair. They're of mixed cultural backgrounds. So, if they're going to be exposed to a bunch of, strategical or institutionalized racism, I guess, they're going to be already behind the eight ball. And I had a chance to say, do I let this go and just ride off into the sunset, or do I turn around and do a Jack Reacher and do one more before I go? And guess what I chose? Anybody? Hmm. Yeah, I'll tell you. I chose Jack Reacher. And I turned around and I said, nah, you guys ain't doing that. If you're gonna do it, it's gonna cost you an arm, a leg, couple other extremities, and it's gonna be a fight. And and do I feel good about it? 100%. And here in the next month or so, we'll see how this whole storyline ends. But yeah, again, who else is gonna fight for it? I remember one time in California, I was out with some of my fellas and stuff like that. We were talking movie making. I can't remember what bar we were at, and it wasn't too far back, but we're at a bar hanging out and stuff, and just going over our next project, what we're gonna do, how we want to do it, all the things we need, and it's just nothing but fellas, about 4 or 5 guys. No one's really thinking anything other than kind of we're there for a mission and to talk over some things. So um, all of a sudden, this one girl, she's a white girl, comes roaming around, and she's just obviously drunk. She pop or plops in the middle of our group, and she's, "What are you guys doing?" And everybody's just like, just laughing at her because she's so drunk. And but she's being funny and just okay. I mean, that happens. Every once in a while, you have a couple too many, and then you're dancing on the middle of the dance floor and all that stuff, being silly. There's nobody in the world who can say they haven't done that who's over 18, or sometimes even younger. So, but we couldn't really kind of slam the girl. She was just being, having a good time. So anyway, so she plopped down, starts chatting with everybody and all that stuff and being silly. And then one guy, she sits down with one dude in particular. I don't know if she just maybe had a better connection or whatever. I'm not trying to say one thing or the other, but so those two are talking. They're having a good old conversation. I go back and I'm talking to my other guys on my left about movie making and all that stuff, and we're about that. And this girl doesn't think I can hear her. All of a sudden, out of the blue, she's like, "Man, this dude's lips are big," and she's talking about me. And I'm just like, what did she just say? Just completely random, had nothing to do with anything. And there she was talking about my lips, I guess. My lips were too big. And then without even hesitation, my buddy, who's white, immediately fired on her like, "Oh, hey, whoa, 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 that wasn't cool. That was so not cool. That was so unnecessary." And like put the fire out on whatever she was trying to do immediately. Um, he was mad. He was hot. He did not think that was cool. It was totally inappropriate, and he stood up and he shut that down right away. Um, do you see what my point is? My point is that no matter what the situation is, what the environment is, whether it's work related, whether it's out and about, hanging out at a friend's house, stuff like that, the racist comments nowadays are so unnecessary. It doesn't bring anything, doesn't accomplish anything. So it really does kind of come down to the white males of the world stepping up and putting the foot down and saying those days are done. We've outgrown those days. That needs to stop right now, and I'm not going to tolerate that stuff. Until that happens, racism is going to be a problem. Um, you know, so as we continue talking on our podcast today, I do want to say I know that I got some young listeners. It sounds like my youngest daughter was mentioning that some of her friends, that 13, 14-year age frame have been kind of tuning into Kshedd, Uncuffed, probably because we talk about a lot of good stuff. I mean, a lot of prevalent issues going on in the world. But as we continue on this podcast, if you haven't figured out right now, there are going to be some things that's going to be talked about that's going to be kind of upsetting. Because as much as I want to talk about racism and drunk white girl talking about my lips, which my lips maybe they're not small by any means, but even if I want to talk about something like that and be offended or be upset and all that stuff, that is by no means anything compared to what my pops had to go through back in the days. And so I use that. I use that for my babies, my daughters. I'm going to call them babies no matter if they're like 60 something. They're still going to be my babies. And it doesn't matter. They haven't seen anything close to what has happened back in the days when it comes to racism and unfairness and stuff, which I think is beautiful. And and we are teaching them to overcome that anyway, but they literally haven't seen anything that they haven't been able to take care of themselves, and which is I think is fantastic as well. It just shows you how the world has changed, society has changed, and stuff like that. And I really have nothing but the best of expectations for them. And if nothing unfair gets in their way, these two girls and their friends are going to cause some damage out there. So, but they came down to Davenport, Iowa, my hometown, with us about a week ago. Had a chance to talk to their grandpa and hear some stories and stuff like that, and they still can't believe some of the stuff that's happened. So with that, I want to prepare the listeners what they might end up hearing, because when I bring my pops on and all that stuff, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna kick back. We're gonna make some jokes and stuff like that. But at the same time, we're also gonna talk about his days back when he was growing up as a youngster back in Mississippi, and it's not nice. It's kind of unbelievable when you think about it. And then we're gonna go from there, and we'll open it up. We'll see if anybody has any questions and all that stuff and everything, and then we'll go from there. Kshedd, Uncuffed, episode 6. Let's do this. Woo, those some groovy tunes right there, man. You can't even make those up yourself if you went to the magic world of music and hey, make it sound like that. I don't know where those tunes come from, but they set the tone for what we're doing here at Kshedd Uncuffed, and we're gonna keep bringing it. So as we get back into everything, I got to keep it light. We'll come strong, then we got to keep it light and all that stuff. By no means am I trying to come hard on any particular agency, department, company, and all that stuff. I mean, these agencies, departments, and companies have to make their own decisions that fits what they're trying to do future wise or overall wise and all that stuff. But at the same time, with the way the world is changing, at some point, your these companies, departments, and agencies have got to realize that you have to look at your whole department, not just the special ones or the golden boys or the good old boys or whatever it's called nowadays and all that stuff. You can't those guys don't run the show anymore. They might be holding on to it, but they're not running the show anymore. So you have a major majority of that's full of all kinds of potential from different races, different cultures, different colors, everybody, genders, everything. You got to tap into that stuff. The Raiders just got them making a major, major move by bringing in the first black female president of their organization in the NFL, and she looks more than ready for the position. What's who's to say that there can't be like something like that that develops in a I was a former police officer. You don't have to have anything crazy change your department and then all that stuff. I mean, do that stuff on your own, man. Start having these meetings where you're looking around at each other and saying, you know what, we've been doing things like this, which is kind of shady and shitty for a while now. Let's change things, man, because this is just not working. The way society has changed, it's just we're going to be dinosaurs nowadays. They keep talking about these race wars and all the different things that comes with that. It's unfortunate that these shootings and these mass shootings keep happening. I can't wait till our government figures out how to stop all that stuff, because we have a lot of innocent lives and stuff. But if it really boils down to these Aryan Nation or these white supremacist groups trying to start a race war, and they're having their minions or whatever you would call them going out there and having these mass shootings just at random here and there and all that stuff, that's not going to work. It's not going to be successful. All you're doing is killing innocent people, innocent children, who have no chance. If you really, really want to make a statement, call your local police department and say, hey, look, I want to have a shootout. Meet me here at 8 o'clock or whatever. Just bring me your best shooter. It'll be that person and me, and we'll duke it out. Do it that way. Don't go and be a coward and show up at some freaking church or some school with some 10 plus or younger kids and stuff who have no way to protect themselves and start shooting that up. I don't know. To me, what needs to happen is they need to start charging these parents and sending these parents of these people who go in there and start shooting these places up. They need to start charging the parents, because the parents, there's no way in the world that they don't know what's happening or what's about to happen. That's where this needs to go, is holding the parents responsible for that. Hopefully the government will figure that out and they'll start making that a rule. My thoughts are that's probably what's going on in a lot of these other countries and stuff out there, is they've tapped into that. But that has to stop at some point and all that stuff. So by no means am I trying to change anything, saying, hey, let's deal with racism head on, like one side on the other one on the other side, and let's go at each other. Do I really believe racism is gonna like be erased tomorrow? No, but I can tell you that from my days, like when I was in high school, like 40 plus years ago, I saw some stuff. People were saying some things, and I came across some situations that were 100% racist. But that was 40 years ago. And, so things are 100% changing in a positive way, and it's very, very encouraging. But a guy of my nature, I will always look at what happened in the past, and I will make sure that people are reminded of that stuff as we keep moving forward, because it's both it's the bittersweet. You'll see the beautiful nature of it all from how things have changed, and it'll be encouraging. Then at the same time, it'll be humbling when you think about that people were getting killed back in the days simply because they were black. And again, I want to forewarn my young viewers and listeners and stuff like that that as we keep going, we're about to talk about some stuff that might be very, very upsetting to hear and listen to. I'm not out there trying to find all these listeners and stuff to break records and, to get awards and all that stuff. I'm out here to try to educate people because I feel that we can make some differences together by having open forums. That's a very, very successful route as far as like making a difference in the world, and that's my number one goal. I'm not trying to change things by the snap of the finger, but 100% we won't get anywhere if we don't talk about it or if we avoid it. So I came here to Davenport over this past weekend. I've been here about 3-4 days, and it's been an amazing experience. Got a chance to hang out with my mom and dad, kind of ease on in. This is such a peaceful place out here in Davenport. You drive around the city, and it's like such a fantastic setup for a city. Whatever you need is out there, and they did a good job, and it's still growing. A lot of things are changing in a positive way, and as soon as we're done talking to my beautiful pops over here, who's to my left, and he's super nervous, by the way. He's just like, man, you gonna have, Dad, don't get mad at me for saying this. He's gonna say, man, there's all kinds of Klansmen people been looking for me back in the days. That's why I left Mississippi. They're gonna find me if I'm on this podcast. So, Dad, I'll hang out here 24 hours a day. I'll post up and just watch over, make sure there's no cars screaming down the street. Just to make sure everybody's safe, but it's such an important thing to hear and talk about. All these stories are stories that I would be talking about on my own podcast down the road, but it would be like third person or second person, I guess, would be what it would be. I'd be telling the stories of what my dad told me. But while I'm here, I'm just like, you know what? Why not have my dad tell his stories? He can't say it any better than I would. I mean, I can't say it any better than he would, and it's authentic. But these stories are stuff that if you're not ready for it, your mind will completely blank and shut down because they're so that extreme, that graphic, that brutal, but it's how our country was back in the days. So with further ado, this is my dad, Mr. William Thomas Kshedd, born and raised in Mississippi, back in the days when it all began. And after my dad is done talking, I'm going to tell you guys a freaking hilarious story and fantastic story of how he left Mississippi and ended up in Iowa. And it was all free sailing from that point on. But let's do this. Hi, Papa.
Oh, hi, Kenny. You are really...
He didn't say Kendrick, so that's a good sign. I'm not in trouble yet.
I didn't give him that. His mom would say Kendrick, and then he knew it was in deep stuff, But, no, so I grew up in Mississippi. I was born in 1938. And I think, in a way, that was somewhere before the dinosaurs became to Earth. I grew up in Mississippi, and from 1938 to 1948, that was not a problem.
Okay.
Everything was fine. I was great. My dad was working hard, and he made certain he would bring things to me for me to enjoy, and I loved it. Then came the 50s.
Wow.
51, well, it wasn't really that bad, but started off in 53, 52, 53, 54, and then forever. Things
Forever after that?
just got just a little bit more difficult.
Oh, wow.
And I've never really thought about things as I was growing up, but I knew things were different. And you had to know where you stood and how you stood it, and
What was the motto back in those days? You said when you're brown, like when you're white, you're all right.
yep. If you're brown, you can stick around. If you're black, you better be black. That was it.
Oh
It,
man.
it was Mississippi was complicated, but you got to remember that when I was born and got in that, these were the things were that we did, and so it was not any big deal. This is what you did.
You were born into it.
Yes, and
Hmm.
but you started trying to figure out, well, why is this way? Because there are no answers for that, you know. And I guess I as I got older, you got into a situation, you get in there and talk with an attorney, say for instance, he first tell you, okay, you're gonna lose this. You're gonna lose this case right now. I'm gonna tell you how much you lose and how hard you lose is gonna depend upon you. So you start off right there with you got a stone on your head when you even start. And
Why would you need an attorney though?
well, because the things come up. But they'll tell you right away before you go in there, hey, you're gonna lose.
Because why?
Because you're black.
Dang, really?
Yeah, really. And so I guess just a little suspicious of attorneys because I really don't trust them now. And I know that they are doing the best thing that they can do for whatever's going on, but they got to be directed by somebody else that's pushing the envelope. And they tell you what's going to go on. And what I got, I felt, these people were telling me what they thought I would need to know. So you know how you got to approach this because if you don't, you're going to pay for it.
That's back in the 50s? Is that back in this the time
Yeah.
when that
Yes.
story with that lady on the bus?
Oh, well,
Oh,
yeah, but that was a little before that.
Okay.
That was more or less in the 40s,
yeah.
late 40s, and it just seemed like it was just so stressed to do it, to think about it.
What happened?
Well, the baby was crying. Baby was sick, and the baby's mom was taking it to the doctor. And
Out in Jackson?
yeah,
Oh wow.
and the guy, the bus driver, stopped the bus, got out, grabbed the baby, and took the baby and threw it against the wall, killed it. One of the guys on the bus was mixed race, and he got up and he killed the bus driver, and he drove the bus on to Jackson, and then he took off running. They looked for him for a few days, then they found him, and they put him at Mississippi State Hospital for insane, which is at Whitfield. And there he went from there. Nobody really, well, I know someone knows what happened to him, but we never were given up an update as what took place after that.
Wow. So you literally could be killed for walking on the street?
Oh, you better walk right. And
What
you
does that
better-
mean?
And you better wear, in the 50s, the guys had especially the black guys, they had I never had enough shirts, but they would take their collar and crimp it down.
Yeah.
And the police would tell them, uncrimp that collar. And they would make them do that. They told them what they could wear and how they had to act. And you just did it. You didn't question it because you...
And
Maybe-
something could change every day. Like they all of a sudden they wanted the shirt to be different, and then they change it.
Yeah. The thing about it is that the officers could do, the white officers could do what they needed to do to keep things intact. Everything was within their power to do whatever they needed to do. And if there's no right or wrong, it was their way of doing things. And if you were just black, you were just a part of the whole thing going on.
You were telling me that story about the gas station.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah. But see, all these are kind of like extreme.
Well, what
situations.
happened on that though?
Well, the black guy was working at the service station, which is where most of them worked anyway. They pumped gas and did stuff around there, and so and in Mississippi they had a way of if you go into a place, you can sign up and they can put your name on the list. You can get gas on account, I guess.
Yeah, credit, huh?
And so he came in and he would go and put his gas on the account. But most of the people would pay their bills. Well, of course, this guy didn't pay it. And all of these were whites that were doing these businesses. I can't think of any blacks that had any business that could be doing that. And so this one guy came up and wanted to get gas. And the owner boss told him don't put any gas in his car because in his truck because he hadn't paid his bill. So when he asked him to put gas in, he said, "I can't put it in there." Boss said, "Don't put it in." Boss said, "Don't put no gas in your car. You owe them too much." And he said, "Boy, put the gas in my car." And he wouldn't do it. And he went and got his gun and blew him away.
Right then and there.
Right then and there, right there on the streets. And then they had to go to court. And the owner, station owner, went to court to testify in his behalf, to tell them what had happened. It was still thrown out because lack of evidence.
Oh, yeah, come on now.
Hey, I can only read so much. And you know, talk about reading.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, I used to carry the Clan Ledger. It's a paper that came out of Jackson.
Uh-huh.
I was 13 years old, 13, somewhere like that. I rode my bikes and the ones I had, and that's the way it worked. And I did a really good job. And me, I'm always wanting to win.
That's true.
And I had.
Can I jump in there right quick? My dad told me a story. He was just like, "I don't care, man. It could be a shit eating contest. I'm gonna be the one to eat the most shit."
That's right. But anyway, they said any person that would increase their people that they had, they would be eligible to go get a prize.
Yeah.
I tripled. No, not tripled. I wanted to, but I doubled my carry the people I had on my list.
Really?
And they sent me a ticket to go to the Coliseum in Jackson for a wrestling match.
Okay.
Now, I don't like wrestling. I wanted to go because I won it.
Yeah.
And I went there, and my dad took me up there, and it was kind of, he was confused about it because he knew that normally I couldn't go to the Coliseum. And he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Well, yeah." We went up there. But when we got there, I found out that I was the only black guy there. Dad was the only black dad there. And so the guy was concerned, but he was really a nice guy. So he came in and he said, "I'm sorry that you came all the way up here, but we can't let you in there."
Wow.
And Dad said he thought something was wrong, but he said my son said it was true. Now, I did not understand that I couldn't go in the Coliseum. And so I wanted to know why. Well, there was no reason why except that you're black. You can't go in there. Dad understood that. And I'm totally mad. He gave Dad $10. and gas prices were very good at that time, you know, and not like it's now. But Dad tried to get the money to me. I told Dad I didn't want it. I worked hard to get these to go to the wrestling match.
Oh wow!
And trust me, I don't like wrestling even now.
But
I
you
never
earned
did
it.
like it, and they said I couldn't go, and I didn't understand it. Dad took me back home. He tried to talk with me, but of course, like sons, dad, and with Kenny.
Wait, he just looked at me like with this really like evil look. What's that? Okay.
Sons and dads sometimes could clash. But Dad didn't want to go into all that with me. He just tried to make me feel better. I know now. But, and it seemed like I was getting across with everything that he couldn't deal with, you know. And there's nothing he could have done about it. I know that. Mm. It was just that I didn't know why I couldn't go to the Coliseum because I had earned this. I had sold those papers and I had increased the route.
Beating everybody.
Yeah, but they said, hey, well, that's the way it works.
Wow.
So I just another thing of saying, hey, look, you win, you're going to lose. And we're going to tell you that now so you won't be thinking, when you know that you lose, you're going to lose. And just don't feel bad about it because you know that this was going to happen to you.
So was that back in the days with like Auburn and Alabama? I remember you were telling me like...
No, Auburn was one of the first schools that I really did like, in a way.
Yeah. Because
Auburn would let us from Tuskegee come up on the campus, and we could go and we could walk and buy books at the bookstore. Wow. Other schools down there, the University of Alabama, some of the schools didn't even let us come up on the campus. But Auburn did let us come on the campus. We went to the bookstore, and they would even let us drink out of the faucet that was on the grounds out there. You know, the water faucet?
Yeah.
They would even let us drink from the water faucets.
Auburn.
Yeah. And I, for whatever reason, I learned to like Auburn.
Well, that's a pretty big reason why.
Yeah, good reason.
Yeah.
And,
I like Auburn now because of that. And I don't like Alabama.
Alabama got 400. No, they don't. They have a number of black guys on. I was going to say they have 400 guys on the team. And I still don't
They got like
Alabama
a 53-man roster.
And I hate Alabama.
Yeah.
I have never liked Alabama. They've always been that way. And I could still see George.
Yeah, what was his name? George?
The governor of Alabama.
Something Watson or something like that. Wallace? George Wallace?
George Wallace. I saw him stand in the door of the University of Alabama and said that there would be no Negroes going there.
Wow.
And I've always seen that picture and I can still see it. And, well, I didn't want to go to the University of Alabama anyway.
But how did it go from that extreme at a University of Alabama where they were like cops standing there with the bats and the batons saying y'all ain't getting in here, and then Auburn was like, no, well, was it the difference of the president or what was the difference?
I really don't know. I don't know how we got on, but they did let Tuskegee kids come on the campus.
That's beautiful.
No, not fraternize. Now you go on the campus and you go to the bookstore, more or less. That's what you. Cause the books that they had at Auburn, we didn't have the books like that at Tuskegee.
Wow. So
they let us come there and buy the books, which I thought was really great because I know it may not sound like.
Dad, stop! I'm going to stop you right there because that's, Auburn should be like. They should get like 10 extra points every year because of that.
I give them that 10 extra points because I think they deserved it because they went past. I don't know if they went past. If I said that, they might say, "Oh boy, what did we do wrong?" But
wait,
But they may have gone past that to let us go and say, well, we didn't see that.
Yeah.
Then I would say, man, I must have gotten lucky. Because they didn't see, but I just thought that was just amazing.
So one of the scariest stories that you've told me from back in the Mississippi days, let me go back because when I'm not the biggest fan of Mississippi myself, obviously, but when I remember being 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever, and then most of my cousins and grandparents obviously lived down in Mississippi, and we'd go down there all the time and over the summer for summer break, and we'd be with our relatives and stuff. And we're back in Iowa at that time, so I remember going to a store with my cousins and stuff, and they're all from Mississippi. They're all from down there, and I'm the only one. Me and my we're the only ones from Iowa, and we go get our food or candy we were gonna get, and then they got theirs. When they went up, they said, they gave him the money, and he's like, "Thank you, sir. All right, next. Here you go, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, next. Here you go. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right, sir." And then it was my turn, so I go up there and I'm just putting my candy down. And he looked at me and was like, "Don't you have something to say?" I'm just like, "Yeah, can I have that and some Skittles too?" I didn't know what he was talking about. He was so mad, he grabbed the candy and kicked us out because I didn't address him as sir and all that stuff. And like you said, with the wrestling thing, I had no clue why he did that. But he kicked us out, and that was back in the 80s, maybe 70s. I was in about the 70s.
Yeah, so it had to be something like that.
Yeah, in the 70s. So that was back then. So it's taken a long time. When they say, and I was going to lead into that. So, Dad, is this a myth? The Deep South is the least racist place in America.
Oh, no. No, there's no way I could even say that.
You can't even joke about that.
No, I can't, because it has never been the least racist, because there's just so many just tiny things that happen that not to go through. Don't get caught with that.
What about that? Remember that gas station thing you were telling me about where we can laugh now, but if I was there, I'd have been scared to death.
No, well, hey, you talk about your dad now. Oh, man.
So, you want me to tell the story? So my dad goes to this gas station, and the guy, I can't even tell it right. Remember what he said? Well, we ain't gonna put no gas in it.
No. Well, I went there.
Okay.
My wife was pregnant with our first child.
Yeah.
We were young, and I was in the Army. And I came by there to get some gas, and I was just gonna get some gas, and they were putting the gas in the car. Yeah. You couldn't pump it. Nobody could pump their own gas did at that time. Nobody. Mm-hmm. As far as I know, white or black, you couldn't pump your own gas. Mm-hmm. And so he said, I asked her, my wife, I said, "Do you want to go to the bathroom?" She said, "No, I don't need to go." I said, "Okay," and then we're going to fill it up. And then she said, "Well, I think I need to go to the bathroom." And I said, "Okay." My wife needed to go to the bathroom. And he looked at me and he said, "There's bathroom all out there in these woods out there. You can go anytime you get ready." And I said, "Okay, don't put another drop of gas in there." I don't know why I said that, because I said, "Boy, it must be crazy," because I said that I don't put another...
To a white man?
Yeah. Don't put another drop of gas in there.
Wow.
He said...
You want to say the N-word, right?
Yeah. Said,
for our young listeners, we're not going to say that word.
This is a different guy. You wait here until I go inside and I come back. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not stupid. I might be all the other things, but I wasn't stupid. I wasn't going to be there when he came back. So he came back, and I took off. I didn't pay for the gas that was in there, and I just took off.
Because what was he gonna do?
Oh, he was going to kill me. I knew that.
Man.
But and so that was it. But just small things like that.
Well,
And another time I was going. So I must have been like 30-something years old, and I was in Mississippi, out from home, and I can't think of the name of the county right now, but it's right down there near where I married my wife, and we got there. Oh, Smith County.
Okay.
Smith County. We got there in the little town of So-So.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that you're not supposed to have a car with air conditioning in it.
Mm.
So I.
Who's you?
Huh?
What do you mean you're not supposed to? Who?
The blacks wasn't having a car.
Damn.
So I rolled the windows down. There was a 66 Buick Electra 225. I rolled the window down and fanned. No, I didn't fan, probably, but I wanted to make certain that they knew that this car didn't have air conditioning. But it did. But I drove through So-So.
Just
with
like
the
that.
windows down. So air could come in outside.
Ooh.
And
They didn't want blacks to have anything.
No, and hey, now they had a joke once. It was really kind of a cute joke. This woman got on the bus, and she did. The man a white guy was being really nice, really nice. And she had a bed bug on her shoulder.
A what?
A bed bug. It's a bed.
Bed bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
They eat
Like a napkin? Like a real bed bug.
Yeah, real bed bug. Eat blood.
Wow.
And it kind of depicts bad living stuff, dirty.
Mm.
And so he said, "Ma'am, you have." It was a white guy. He picked it up and said, "Ma'am, you have a bed bug on your shoulder." She said, "You put that bed bug right back there. You put it right back there. You white folks don't want to see us with nothing." We all laughed about that. That's one of the jokes that you're not supposed to tell.
I didn't see that coming. That's funny. They didn't even want her to have the bed bug?
No, they don't want to see us with nothing. Put it right back. And,
shoot. From my history classes and stuff like that, you hear about some of the horrible crimes that took place back in the South back in those days. Mr. Emmett Till.
Oh yeah.
You were down there with him or in that area.
I wasn't with him.
No. Not. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I know you weren't with him, but you were.
When he was killed, I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really awful. And I was on the baseball team at where I was going to school, and we went to play in the town. After he was killed, we went the next day to play in that town baseball. Everybody was very whatever. It was really an eerie situation.
You were scared, huh?
Yeah, everybody was scared. But
what happened with him?
Well, I'm not even sure, but they told us he was from Chicago and he whistled at a white woman, and they got him to teach him some manners.
Did they track him down?
What they knew where he lived.
They
knew he was down. Emmett was down from Chicago on a vacation in the South, like a lot of kids come down there in the South, and they stay for vacation.
And they don't know how to act.
And they act as if they were in Chicago.
Oh wow!
And in Chicago, they could say baby whistle at a white woman, and everything was okay. But he made a mistake.
He did that down south,
and he had to pay for it.
So they went down to his house?
They went, picked him up. His grandpa gave them him. They gave him to them, and they killed him. and
How'd they
threw him
kill
off
him?
in the they just beat him to death. Threw him off in the Tallahassee River. As far as I know, I didn't know, but I know that they had the funeral with him beaten as he was, and she didn't want him cleaned up or anything. She wanted them to see what they did to him.
To her baby?
Yeah, and say he was like 15 years old. He wasn't old enough to even be thinking about anything of that nature, I would think. Because I was 17. Of course, I was a late bloomer anyway. I was 17, and I wasn't thinking about anything of that nature.
Oh. Wow. It could have been somebody who did not like him and said, that dude just whistled at that girl.
Yeah. And see, and you don't whistle. You
Yeah.
You didn't whistle at any white girl on the street. Of course, I didn't know how to whistle.
Somebody was looking after you.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's keep that off his weaponry. He can't whistle.
Yeah,
all right, let's
right.
keep him. That'll keep him alive a little bit longer.
But things were very scary. You had to stay in step. If you got out of step, and if you got into something, what they would say, you did something. Whether you did it or not, you did it. That's what I tried to deal with it.
That's so horrifying, Dad.
But it's so real. It was really real. And if you tried to deal with it in any type of way except say, okay, you're going to pay for this, you're going to get in trouble. And my dad, and I sit there and I thought about the things with mother and dad. I was in Jackson when
Martin Luther King?
Kennedy was killed.
Oh, Kennedy.
And when Kennedy was killed and they pronounced him dead, I was at Shaw Department Store on Fair Street. Fair Street is a black street in Jackson. And the white people there, they were just as if they were at a Ole Miss game. Mississippi was playing and just won the game. They clapped and cheered and everything else like that, which really made me mad. And I went back home, and I was mad. And Dad knew I was mad, and he had to come. Dad had to come make things better because he said, I can't be out there acting like that, you know. So he got me in the house because he didn't want me out there showing off.
You were about to go after some people, huh?
Go after something. I don't know what I would go. I didn't have anything to go after anybody with, but I was so mad that they went and cheered for that, as if that was great, you know. And
because he was helping out the black people.
yeah, and that was the problem.
That's really what happened, you think?
I really think so. But
this is Kshedd Uncuffed. So, but just in case there's somebody listening, my dad had nothing to do with
nothing.
Yeah. You know, that's so unfortunate. I can't even picture that, you know. I can't even come up with a reasoning. And that's the part that makes me upset because, you know, like say that happened today, and you have like a relative or a friend that you work with and all that stuff, and you pull that relative or that coworker aside and it's like, did you hear what happened to such and such and such and such? It's like, yeah, I was at the house. My relatives were screaming and yelling and celebrating. And it's like, how? Why? And then they would play it off like, well, you know, they would say something like and justify it. It's like, how is that okay?
Well,
am I missing something?
The part that bothered me is that I really wasn't. I've never been that much of a politician. I hate politicians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, I hate attorneys too. But I did not understand how would anybody cheer for somebody being dead.
A president of all that.
A president, and I said, I can't even believe this.
Yeah.
But when I walked out of Shaw, I got back in the car, we went back home, and I still was mad. And Dad had to go find me because Dad was really perfect.
Yeah.
Because he had to keep, and I kept messing with him because he seen that he was bothering me with too many things, and I really figured out now he was trying to keep me alive because my temper was really, really bad. I mean, it was really bad, and
This
and
is
he
full circle right here. Sounds like.
he didn't want me to go off the deep end,
Oh,
and
man.
I never thought of it that way. I thought Dad was just scared,
Ooh.
but I now know that Dad was trying to protect me.
You would not be alive if it wasn't for my grandpa, huh?
Not right.
Oh my goodness.
He kept things together. Mother too, because she would always tell me, Deputy, don't you ever get out of your place. I said, Mother, what is my place?
Ooh. Wow.
Well, and I knew that they knew I was different, but they knew that they had to protect me because they knew I was way over the top with my thoughts, and they said we got to take care of this guy is gonna cause a problem for himself.
Oh.
And so I will forever think that my mother and father were really great.
Wow, Dad. You know, I wish everybody has a chance to be able to sit down and have this type of candid conversation with their maker. You know, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I will 100% acknowledge the fact that Dad created me and my mom, and they made their kids to be well-rounded individuals. We're not out looking for problems, and like my mom taught us, if someone's messing with you, like in high school, junior high, whatever, if someone's messing with you, you do everything you can to look the other way. If they keep trying to get in your face, you go tell a teacher. If you tell the teacher doesn't do anything about it and all that stuff, you try to still ignore them. Now, if they still keep coming at you and you can't, and they cross the line and you can't take it anymore, and it's past that point of no return, then I expect you to turn around and knock the shit out of them. And that's kind of what I've taken on. I've learned that from this man right here and my mom.
I tell you what, I want you to know that sometimes I have to hide to keep from there because he scares me sometimes.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
He's pointing at me. Dad. Anyway, so we hope to be able to get you back on Kshedd Uncuffed, one of our later episodes and stuff like that, because this has been like a mind blowing experience and stuff. I think people are going to be looking at this like, wait a minute, wow, we have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, I
Right?
definitely agree with that. They really don't have anything to complain about now. Whether I'm right, wrong, or misinterpreted stuff, you have nothing to complain about.
All right, Pops. Love you now.
I love you, man. That's why you scare me sometimes.
Stop. Hey, we're about to do our theme music. We're going to go on a break. And I'm about to wrap this up with one funny story about it's not a funny story. It's just it's a memorable story. I'm sitting next to a legend right now, I mean, he took on some incredible odds, and he shouldn't even be here right now.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So with that, we're gonna take a break right now and ease back into our fade out on this episode, and we'll come back and we'll go from there. Okay? Kshedd Uncuffed. You know what? We try to do it in a 3-act portion: intro, meat, and then conclusion. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I had my pops on, and it was a fantastic experience. Um, everything he went through in Mississippi was traumatic. I'm blown away by the fact that he was able to shake all that off and make it out of there back in those days. So um, what he said really kind of triggered things, and he knew because by that time he had four babies. Um, I was the youngest, and he told me that one time he went to the post office to mail something off. He goes in there, does his thing, comes out, and then there's like all these cops like out there waiting for him, and they order him down to the ground at gunpoint. Said, "Get on the ground." They handcuff him, they put him in the back, and they arrest him. They take him down to the station, and they say, "We knew you were gonna rob that post office." And he's just like, "What? Why would I rob the post office when the bank was right across the street?" So he, apparently they didn't think that was too funny. So they let him know that they were going to let him off this time, but in order to get out of jail, it was going to cost him like $200, and it just so happened that that's all he had in his bank account at that time. And $200 at that time was a lot of money, so that pretty much took everything out of his family's off his family's plate. And what he did was he's like, I got to get out of here. So he reached out to a friend of his who had already moved out of there and headed to the Midwest for greener pastures. And so he reached out to him and said, "Hey, we want to come out there and kind of see what's out there." He said, "I got a couple job opportunities for you. Come stay with me, bring the family. You're gonna love it out here." So he was skeptical at first, but he had no other option. So he said he put me and my sister, the youngest sister Sherry, in the car. I think she was like 3 or 4 at the time, and my mom and my dad, us four, jumped in the car and headed out to Iowa or the Midwest. So he said that he gets up there. He's not quite sure where he's supposed to go, and he's about to run out of gas. He's trying to get to his friend's place, and he said only thing he could do was stop at this bar that was bumping at the time, and he's just like, I don't really want to go in there, but I have no other choice. I need to find where a gas station is, the nearest gas station. So he said he walked in, place was packed. He goes up to the bartender and said, "Hey, I'm about to run out of gas. Where's your nearest gas station?" And he said the bartender looked at him and was like, "Hey, you know what? I don't know exactly. Let me double check. But hey, in the meantime, I'll check with one of my other coworkers. But in the meantime, do you want a beer?" And my dad said the bartender poured him a beer, so he can kind of sip on while he went in the back and he checked on directions for my dad. And so my dad said he's sitting there looking at this crazy scene, all these people out there just having fun, country bar, I guess, but they're just partying their butts off. And he sees this girl who's looking at him, and she's next to this dude who's shooting pool, her boyfriend. So the girl looks at him and like, all of a sudden starts coming, does a beeline straight over there where he is. And she's like, "Hey, who are you? Are you new around here?" And he's just like, well, yeah, I'm from out of town. And she's like, like, "Hey, well, we need to give you a welcome or whatever." And he said that, "What are you doing? What the heck are you doing?" He said, the boyfriend came over there, looked up after finished his shot and came over there, stormed over there to where he was. And he's like, looked right at my dad, got up in his face. He's like, "Is she bothering you? I'm so sorry. She just does that. That's her." He's like, "Here, let me buy you a beer, man, to make it up to you." And he's just like, "What? I already have a beer." He's like, "It's okay. I'm gonna buy you another one." And so he buys dad another beer. He has 2 beers in his hand in this crazy scene. And then the girl's just like, "I didn't mean nothing to anybody, but I mean, where are you from?" He said, told him where he's from, and he said they were coming up there to kind of check out some places. He's like, "Where is your wife and kids?" He's like, "They're outside." He's like, "You kidding me? You left your kids outside and wife?" So he said the girl went out and grabbed me, my sister, and my mom and brought them into the bar. And so here my dad and mom are just kind of celebrating with these people. The girl was, I guess, playing with me, and then Sherry's running around the bar too, having fun and all that stuff too, and everybody's just having a blast. And my dad said, I found my place. And it was like no looking back from that point on. He was free, and found a place that his four kids were able to just strive for the stars and prevail. And all of us took the lead from there. And so if you hear me have a lot of good things to say about the state of Iowa, it's very much warranted. And and I'm gonna pay it back by making a movie about this beautiful state of ours called Iowa's Finest. Our movie crew is moving steadily towards getting it done, as far as like the planning for it. And here soon, we're gonna actually shoot this bad boy. But for now, we're going to take advantage of the marketing that comes with it, with the social media platforms, and we're going to build up a little bit of buzz before we shoot this bad boy. And it's going to be in homage to Iowa. All right. With that, guess what, man? I think that's a wrap for episode 6. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you guys doing nothing but supporting us with what we're doing, and we're gonna keep it coming. Sounds like we're doing some good things. Sounds like a lot of people are emailing us, kshedduncuffed@gmail.com with questions, topics that they want to talk about, and we're gonna cover them as soon as we get a chance, and we're gonna have fun bonding as a group.